I'm going to use Doja Cat, our yellow belly pod, to discuss how you can stop wasting your seasons and how to plan your ball python pairings the right way. Man, I mean, right now is a breeding season for a lot of people. I know that you can breed ball pythons year round, but wouldn't it help if you had just a way to kind of think about the planning? Because let's face it, YouTube should be for how-to videos, like the kid that shows me how to reset my G-Shock watch every year. That's why I originally started watching YouTube. So hopefully this video will serve as a good beginner's guide as to how you can start your plannings in the beginning so that you can actually move your projects forward and get what you want out of them. Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Paul with Spheric Reptiles. And again, I thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully this video series is helping you on breeding your ball pythons. Again, I have Doja Cat right here. She is a beautiful yellow belly pod. She's given us one clutch last year, or actually the year before last in 2024. So we're going to try to pair her up again for the 2026 season. She's got a lot of good weight on her, but you're not watching this video for me to talk about my snake, right? So unfortunately, that's what the majority of videos show, is just, you know, people showing their snakes. And that's not what I'm here to do. This is all about you and how you can strategically, in a upperclassman type of level, think of your ball python pairings before you really even get started. So before you buy 50 animals, I'm talking about in your first, like, well, really, you probably already bought 10 if you're considering breeding ball pythons, no less than 5. But if you're actually planning on breeding ball pythons, then there's a series of steps and planning that you could do. And it's not rocket science, guys. We're not launching SpaceX here. What you're doing is you can follow this format as just one way to do it. And then that should lead you to success in the future. And you'll get some immediate gratification. You'll make some hits. And then you'll also produce animals that will help you in the long term when you need them around year 5, right? So, and around that time, you'll know in 5 years that whether this is going to work for you or not. So we're approaching 5 years. We're going on our 4th year. And so far, it's been incredible. Now you're like, well, how can I bring you this video? Because I did a lot of research before I ever even considered breeding ball pythons. So I've leaned on the backs of experienced breeders. Some of them are still breeding and selling reptiles, and some of them are not. And that goes to another point, guys. Before I even get started into this, if you're breeding ball pythons, you also need to be thinking of selling ball pythons, because what good is it going to do you financially to actually breed all of these animals if you're never trying to sell them, right? So in order for you to get what you want as a breeder, you actually have to sell some ball pythons. So that'll be the senior level course that'll be coming up next. But for this one, the junior level, the 301 level, is specifically going to talk about how you can stop wasting your seasons and how you can plan your ball python pairings the right way. So the first thing that I'm going to start off with is the setup. And I like that word or that phrase, the setup, because you're either going to set yourself up for success or you'll set yourself up for failure. So we don't want to fail, but more importantly, we're going to learn from the failures of others. And that's what this research is all about that I've done. This is something that I've seen that's tried and true from whether they're a big time breeder or they're a small breeder like us. So the setup would be for you to start with a visual, or so it can be single or double visual recessive male. So you pick what project that you want to work towards and you get that visual single or double recessive male. Why? Because males are cheaper in the ball python game. In any of the snake games, with the exception of the rare colubrids, then it's probably going to be more expensive to buy a female. Secondly, you would want to start off with either a double visual female or a visual het, or at the very least, a double het female. That's for the same genes that you have your male for. So why? Because you need some immediate gratification, right? So when you're making these pairings, I don't want you to ever get discouraged, right? I don't want you to ever get discouraged in doing something like this that you should love. Don't ever get yourself down. So if you can produce something that gives you direct visuals of what you want to see, so it gives you that immediate wow factor. You're not making a a ball python that looks like a classic or a normal ball python, then it propels you forward. I mean, that makes sense, right? I hope so. Well, if it doesn't, then what are we doing, right? Secondly, out of this setup, I want you to go and get a female with no recessives, but she's packed with incomplete dominant genes. And as you can see right here, I have this acid orange dream yellow belly, and she's packed with genes, right? Or you can have this animal right here, which is a phantom cinnamon yellow belly. I mean, it's just something that gets you forward. It's genes that aren't as usual. They're kind of rare. So I chose these two because I hardly ever saw any phantoms and I hardly ever saw any acids, right? You used to see a lot of phantoms and mystics, but you don't see them anymore. And then both of these animals have yellow belly, so it gives me that ability to make either some super forms if I choose, or to have yellow belly or not. But either way, it's one of those genes that I kind of would rather have than not in some cases. But in some cases, I would rather not have it at all. But either way, what I want you to do is get an incomplete dominant female that has 3 traits. And the last thing that I want you to do is remember you got your double visual male. Oh, I say double visual. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's a double recessive visual male. So, and then I want you to pair that male with an animal like this that has a recessive traits like this yellow belly pod, but has separate traits from the male. So what you're doing here is you're trying to make triple hets. And why? So with this one, with the triple hets, that's going to set you up for success at year 5. So if you think about it, if you get another triple het, like say you get another pod of some sort, and that's your goal, is to make, for instance, like Desert Ghost hypopods, then at least that way, by come year 5, or maybe even as early as year 3, you can start producing those triple hets, and hopefully you've bred that male to an animal that has other incomplete dominant traits, so that you have those traits in there, and then you could actually get triple visuals as early as year 3 or year 5. So that's how you move it forward. But with the other one that I discussed, the female with the 3 incomplete dominant traits, the purpose in that is to add more incomplete dominant genes in your double visual. Because when you search on Morph Market, you find a lot of double visuals, but they're just, I mean, I hate to say classic. I'm going to say classic because I don't want to say normal. They're the classic ball pythons. So it's Desert Ghost hypo. It is a VPI Xanthic clown. It is a Desert Ghost hypo clown pie, but it has really only pastel, if anything, or it may not have any other incomplete dominant traits in with those quad or triple recessive traits or double recessive traits. So, and that's not the goal. I was watching a video the other day, and Chris Hernan was talking about the scrambler gene, right? And what he was saying is Tinley, if you guys probably saw the same video, he made a scrambler clown. Now, he doesn't really work with clowns, so when I saw it in the video, I was really surprised at the fact that he had this. But so what this does for him is it does show a different picture than just the traditional scrambler. It changed up the pattern immensely. That's the way I want us to think. So remember, for the setup, get your single or double visual recessive male, then get a female that has, at the very least, 100% het for each one of those male traits. Then secondly, get a female with 3 incomplete dominant traits that you don't see that often. And lastly, out of your setup, you want a female that has a visual recessive expression or traits that the male does not have. All right. So for the step-by-step strategy, guys, and this is the strategy that makes this an upperclassman course, like a 301. I need you to breed that double visual male to all 3 of the females. So with that, say if we were doing a clown pod, in this case with Jetty, he's a classic clown pod, right? So he's a double visual male. And what I would want to do is pair him up with a female, at the very least, starting off with that first female that is at least a clown pod or a 100% het for clown pod, but no less than 100% het. And that way I can get some immediate gratification. So if I were to breed Jetty to our black pastel orange dream clown pod, then we would end up with hopefully some black pastel orange dream clown pods, right? At the very least. But in this case, every animal that is not a visual is 100% het. So what's the benefit in that? The benefit in that is that you don't have to spend additional monies in paying for shed tests. I mean, I believe in shed tests 100%. I know we spent a lot of money on shed tests this year. I think our latest count was close to $2,000 on shed tests, but I think that it was vital for what we were doing then. But as we move forward, now I have pictures of those animals that I've shed tested, so I'll be able to identify them better. But for anyone that I can't, then I will. But in this case, with black pastel and orange dream, you would be able to identify the black pastel and you'd be able to identify the orange dream because it just looks so much different. But you would also want to breed jetted to that. Like, so in this case, if I had an acid orange dream yellow belly, or if I had a phantom cinnamon yellow belly, because we have those animals, I would breed him to those animals. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense, because sometimes in these videos, I think that I'm running a little bit slow, but I'm really trying to get the point across as to where you can actually succeed. And this is one of the points where you can succeed, because now you got two different pairings where you're going to either have visuals, and then on the second one, you're going to have heads. So the average ball python clutch for us is around 8 eggs. So if you could imagine, like if you were to hold back 1.2 from each one male and 2 females, that will put you in position to work your breeding project strategically. But then it would also, as you go and you move forward, you'd be able to pair up Jetty here, our clown pied, to some additional females, whether they're a double het or they just have a lot of incomplete dominant traits. And then that way you can actually start to develop a brand for yourself, a name for yourself as to what animals you produce. I think that makes sense, because in this market right now, the guys that are succeeding are specializing in certain morphs or certain incomplete dominant and recessive morphs. And so when people think of them, that's where they go. So that's where I think that we all could get with the correct amount of marketing and the strategic breeding. And that's why this course, or this, I'm like, course, we're not in college anymore. It's crazy. But this will help you out tremendously if you're just now starting out. And the last one would be to breed him to another animal. So it could be a double visual female. So we do happen to have a chocolate inchy Desert Ghost hypo. And if I were to breed Jetty, who is a clown pied, I could make some quad hets. It moves you forward. And again, if you can remember from the setup portion that I was discussing, then you will get, in 3 to 5 years, you would have the chance to shoot for those triple hets or quad or triple visual or quad visual animals. Man, this is a lot of quad and hets and visuals and recessives and all this other stuff. But hopefully you're understanding this, and the why for all of this, why you would want to hold back 1.2 from each one, is because, again, in producing these animals, hopefully you'd have a way by the time that you pair them up and you get the eggs out of the incubator, or if you use, natural breeding methods where you let them incubate the eggs on their own, it's up to you. I would suggest the incubator because it's more reproducible, but if that's what you don't have, then you got to go with what you have. The reason this strategy works in holding back 1.2 animals from each clutch is it allows you to keep a total of 9 animals from the clutch. Plus you still have your females and you have your males. So that's a total of 13 animals that you have to work these projects. And of course, you can always take a male, like say if you had a clown pied, you could put this male to other females along the way as you're growing those hatchlings up that you're keeping. But in the other animals, you're able to sell, in which that will pay for rodents and it will pay for racks, because you definitely need a hatchling rack, right? You definitely would need a hatchling rack. Now I'm in the snake room and I want to show you, which is our dining room. I don't want to pretend like it's something more than it is. And it's just a little nice cubby hole that all of our reptiles can fit in that we're breeding. Our other animals are in our living room. We moved them out of our bedroom so that they're all not just all up on us, right? What I'd like to discuss now is raising up your holdbacks, right? So now you've put together those pairings to, remember that double visual male to each one of those females, to where you got some visuals, you got some hets, and then you got animals with extra incomplete dominance, and you're working towards triple and quad head animals, but you got to raise those holdbacks. So the number one thing that you want to realize with the holdbacks is I'm just going to pull up any animal, one that just didn't eat. So what I'll use is Sycamore. So Sycamore here is a leopard confusion that is double head for a dream sickle, right? So she's lavender albino pied. So you can see just how she looks. And I'll just hold her here. And so the key during this point is maintaining your animal's health and confirming their genetics, right? So this is where you spend the money with RGI or shedtesting.com to get your confirmation of the animals. You look at a lot of pictures of animals just to make sure that you're getting those traits right for those that you're keeping and those that you're selling. That's really important. And let's face it, guys, for the males, it'll take a year to a year and a half to get them truly up to sexual maturity. And for the females, you're looking at anywhere from 2 years to about 2.5 years. In worst case scenarios, 3 years. And that's just why we remember with the number that we kept as holdbacks, we kept 1.2 from each clutch, right? So when you're keeping 1.2 from each clutch, you're ending up with 6 females. So hopefully out of those 6 females, because you could actually breed one of those other animals to one of those triple hets, it'd be the same. You just wouldn't have that other one in there turn out a pos het. But by doing that, you're hopefully going to have at least 4 females that are ready to go for you in about 2 years, right? That's if you do everything right and you keep them healthy. And I think that's the main thing, is just making sure that you're tracking their growths, make sure that you're feeding them. So when they're hatchlings, just to recap on the previous video, and that video is right here. Feed your hatchlings every 5 to 7 days for the first 6 months of their life. Now, it takes them a while to get going, right? And that's why a lot of the times you'll see, if you look on Morph Market, someone had an animal that was born in July, and you're wondering why it's not ready to go in November. It's because that animal wasn't an aggressive eater. So as breeders, you don't want to force feed your animals or assist feed your animals unless you absolutely have to, right? To give that animal the ability to eat on its own. What'll happen is some animals still don't want the food every 7 days. They only want it every 10 days because you got to remember their digestive systems are developing. So this is the most crucial step that I can think of. So during this time, and I'm always going to talk about it, feed your animals according to how they want to eat, right? So just because you want that animal to be 1,200 grams in 1 year, guess what? The animal is saying that I'm only going to be 600 grams or 700 grams in 1 year. And I mean, let's face it, it'd be better for that animal to be the 600 grams or 700 grams healthy versus the 1,200 grams with a wrecked digestive system that sets them up for failure. And the reason why that's important is because if their digestive system is messed up, they're not going to breed for you. The male might actually breed, but the females probably won't breed for you because they've had some damage done to their internal system that they're still trying to get over. So when it comes to developing follicles, sure they might, but they're probably going to go off food because there's going to be a time where it's just uncomfortable for them to actually eat the food. So, and I think that's something that we need to talk about. And I know that doesn't deal with, strategically breeding your ball pythons the right way. But it's something that always needs to be discussed. And it's something that always needs to be considered when you're breeding ball pythons, because even I want my animals to grow up to be nice and big and tall, just like we'd want our kids to be nice, big, and tall, right? That makes sense. One of the things that you'd want to consider, guys, is so at this point, when you're waiting on your hatchlings to grow up, is how you sell these animals, right? So we're on Morph Market right now, and I thank a lot of you guys for actually, I guess you would say, subscribing to the channel on Morph Market. I definitely appreciate it. But these animals are all going to be ready to go, but it took some time because one of the things that I don't want to do, and I think that this should play well into your strategies as well, make sure that your animals are eating well before you move them on. So get them to that 100 gram or 150 gram mark before you offer them up for sale, or at least let the buyer know that, hey, this animal is at 75 grams. If you want to pay for it now or just do installment payments, as soon as it gets up to 125 to 150 grams, I will ship it out to you. And I think most people are okay with that because they don't want a ball python that doesn't eat, right? So this is all in the strategy of when you're waiting, right? So when your hatchlings are growing up in those 2 to 3 years, of course, the males will grow up a little faster, but they're silly anyway. So, but the females are your limiting factor. And so in the 2 to 3 years it takes to get those females up, then that's what I want you to focus on. Remember, it's the health and consistent feeding, and get those shed tests done so that you know exactly what you have. And that's why we spend so much money just on the hatchlings you all see here. This is all from this year with the exception of some 2 animals that we purchased. So, oh, and by the way, if you see all these red things in the back, these are animals that we're breeding right now. So when they're breeding, I like to cover them up so that when we're shooting videos in here, or I turn on a light, I like to keep the mood nice and going. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so that way they don't unlock. All of these, where you see these tiles, these are the 4 animals that we're pairing up for this week. And they are locked up, and I'm showing you shots on the screen of the animals so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about, and I'll put the pairings on there as well in case that's a pairing that you want to duplicate. In years 3 and 4, what you'll end up with is an animal that is something like this or going towards this. So she is not 3 or 4 years old. I just have so many animals that I'm pairing up right now with females that I don't want to disturb them. So that's why you're only seeing that one female in the males. But this is Twix, and she's a spot-nosed clown. And realistically, she's not even a year old yet. She was born at the beginning of the year, but I'm going to use her just because I want to give her some enrichment. So years 3 and 4, what you have now is you got these sexually mature females, and you got these hets, and you got the original pairings of the animals, but you still got the dad. So now this is the point where you can either breed the hets from the offsprings that you got, or you can breed the father. You can line breed your animals. So you can breed the father to the females. And then that way you can stay with your goals of making animals, or you can get an all new male to begin with if you want to keep your bloodlines clean, which is what I would suggest, just so you increase genetic diversity and variability so that you can actually get those double visual animals again. Now, you may have gotten some from that first pairing when you paired up at the very least that double head recessive animal to your double visual male, right? Now, if you got that, that's great. Hopefully you held those animals back. And so that way you can always consistently reproduce those animals. But if you didn't, then remember, you got those incomplete dominant traits. Remember, so in the example I gave, I had an acid orange dream yellow belly and a phantom cinnamon yellow belly. You got those traits to add into that double visual, so that chances are, if you were to search on Morph Market for those animals, there wouldn't be a lot out there. So that in the case when you're trying to sell it, it would definitely be something that is a little bit more rare, even amongst the 8,000 pattern morphs of ball pythons or 25,000 ball pythons that are just listed on Morph Market. You would have something that is different, or at least is not as common to someone else. And that's where I really stress, in your breeding the right way, you got to think about that. So you want to be the one that creates those genes or those animals with the genes or the recessive traits that is uncommon, so that you can put it out there and someone might say, hey, that's a really cool looking snake. I'd like to have one of those. Or you'll say, hey, wow, that's a really cool snake. I'm keeping it. It's not going anywhere, right? So I think that happens more than not in people that breed ball pythons. I want to keep them all, but Lynn tells me that I can't. Remember, is if you breed that visual to a visual, you get 100% visuals. And if you breed the visuals to a het per recessive trait, then you get 50% of a chance to get that visual. And then all the animals that are on the other side of the 50%, they're 100% het. And then with the incomplete dominant traits, it's also a 50-50. Unless you have 2 animals that are yellow bellied, then you can end up with superform. But in most cases, you end up with, say, if you did a chocolate to a spot nose, you'd end up with an allelic animal where they have the same trait on the same allele. And that's what allelic is. Well, different traits. They have different traits on the same allele. So you'd end up with either chocolates or spot nose animals. And that should help you in your identification. Just looking at, say, if you have a blue-eyed leucistic complex, if you have a spider complex, if you have a 8-ball complex, just knowing that will help you to determine what your animals are when they're hatched, so that you're doing fewer genetic tests and you're more successful, right? And I think that's the thing, is you want to be more successful in your pairings and what you're thinking that you're going to get, so that by year 3 and 4, you got it down. Because now each year you're going through a different breeding season, and you're deciding if you're going to breed more, if you're going to breed less, if you're not going to breed at all. I mean, it's just up to you. But at that point, I think that it just becomes a cycle after that time. So every 5 years, you're going to want to be producing something different. Make sense? Does that make sense, Lynn? Yes. All right, I'm trying to make sure it makes sense, because if it doesn't make sense to you, then this does no good. Because remember, this is a how-to video, so I'm really trying to stress how to strategically plan your ball python pairing so that you're not wasting your seasons, you're not wasting your time, and you're damn sure is not wasting your money. Damn sure is not. That's crazy. Damn sure are not wasting your money, right? You know, like I said, if you don't care about your money, just shoot it to me. You know, just I can send you a Zelle and you can just Zelle it to me, right? So, but I don't think anybody's doing. I think everybody kind of wants to watch their money. So when you're doing ball pythons, years 2, 3, and 4 are very important, right? They're very important. And you know, so on a side note, I like to do little side notes. I recently had to take an animal to the vet because it has stuck eye caps. I took the advice of the breeder for the species of animals that I got, and it didn't work out for one of them. So when I took it there, she asked me, because she knew that I was a breeder, she asked me, how do I keep my animals? And I told her I keep her in tubs. And she says, well, you know, I went to a lecture recently, and this is what she found. And this is why I'm getting my animals out and making sure that they get some enrichment. I'm holding them, just feeling them, just I don't know if it's uncomfortable for them, but either way, they're going to get this exercise. She said, and this is crazy, but she did agree with the racks and the sanitary system of tubs and racks and things like that. But she also said that no enclosure is big enough, right? So unless you have a zoo size enclosure, so that's bigger than a 6x4x2 or 8x4x2 or 8x2x2. She says the animals never have enough space. So it's like having people. You can breed people in prison, but that doesn't make them happy, right? So I'll just leave it at that. So I think that we should all give our animals enrichment, take them out, hold them. Even if it's an animal that's a little bit more defensive and wants to get at you, take it out and hold it. Give it somewhere so it can stretch out. And that way that animal will get more exercise and be more healthy. And like we have an animal this year that will be 14 years old. So I'm really happy to have a 14-year-old ball python. Her name is Medusa, and she definitely wants to eat me. Maybe that's why she's 14. Year 5. At year 5, I think it's pivotal that you think about expansion, right? So one of the things that I see a lot of ball python breeders doing is they've invested a lot, maybe during COVID or not, but they invest heavily in the beginning, and then they don't add any new genes or traits to their collection. They don't move their collection forward. I think that's the worst thing that they can do if they're trying, remember, because you're trying to also sell ball pythons. So if you're looking to sell ball pythons, then you're breeding, right? If you're not, then maybe you just have maybe 1 or 2 clutches and then you call it a day. But if you continue to breed, then you need to bring in some revenue. And the one thing that you can do is to continue to add the animals that attract the pet level buyer as well as the breeder. So if you're not shooting for either one, then you probably are not going to be very successful, because a lot of people buy pets and a lot of breeders buy animals. That's the way that this works, right? You don't have these millionaires coming in saying, oh yeah, I want to buy a $100,000 snake just to buy it. I mean, because people don't become millionaires from being stupid a lot of the time. Well, I take that back. You can become a millionaire from being stupid, damn it. But I'm telling you, so when it comes to breeding ball pythons, and I'll use Sylvia here, and Sylvia she's a yellow belly banana clown that's heifer pied, right? So if you remember the first animal that we had, which was Jetty, and he was just a clown pied, eventually when she reaches sexual maturity, then we can actually breed him to her and end up with some banana yellow belly clown pieds, right? And so that would be cool. And so this is one of the things that I really want to stress, is that incrementally, as you sell animals or you sell your previous breeders, and that's one of the things that we do, any of the animals that we breed that we know that we're not going to breed again, we have friends, we know other breeders that are working projects as well. What we'll do is we'll offer them those animals at a reduced rate. Already produced your double visual animals, you produce some heads, you got some great incomplete dominant heads in there, and now all of these animals are about to have their clutches. You got your triple heads or your quad heads that you're starting to pair up to try to shoot for that elusive triple or quad visual animal recessive, but you're still adding in new genes. And adding in a gene like, I mean, I'm just using this as an example, where you have a visual yellow-bellied banana clown that's heifer pied, then that can actually move those genes a lot further, or you can work another project. Say you want to start with a Desert Ghost Hypo and you want to breed that in, or you want to start with a puzzle, or you want to add in paint or you want to add in like a incomplete dominant gene like Jaguar or Cosmos or something like that, then you can actually, from the cell of those other animals, look to purchase that other animal, and then you can add those genes into and just work it again. And so that wheel will start off again, and in 5 years, you'll have your true product of the animals. Okay, so, and this is the last part, and I promise, so this is the tip. So if you didn't watch any other part of the video, but you stuck around to this, this is the most useful part of the whole video to me, and this is a tip on efficiency. So what I mean by that is you got to be smart about what you're doing. So I'm just going to give you a couple of things. We'll run through them quick. You can always rewind this video and watch this, so you can save the video and you can watch it again, just to be clear on what I'm saying. And hopefully this makes sense. If it doesn't, please drop a comment below and let me know. So the first thing is that I need you pairing with a purpose. Damn it, don't just freaking pair up animals just because you got a male and a female. Each one of your pairings should push your projects forward. If it's not pushing your projects forward to make something new or to achieve your goals that you set with your projects, don't even pair it. Because like I said before, if you can buy the animal, just go buy it. It's a lot cheaper on the rodent cost and your time cost and the incubation time and the money that you're going to put in, the time you're spending cleaning that animal. If I could just buy, like if my goal was just to have this animal, I bought it. So that would be it. So that's the number one tip that I can give, and it works. Number two, hold back smartly. Don't just be holding back anything, man. I mean, focus on your females, because remember, the females are your limiting factor. So all of these animals that we have over here, they're all females. They all have specific projects that I'm working with them. So, you know, I want to focus on those females because the females are the life's blood of your collection. You can always pick up a male usually. I mean, if you look at even the Morph Market auction or the Palm Street auction, the majority of animals that are for sale are males. Why? Because the males grow up so quick that you end up with an overabundance of males. Not to say that you don't need a male, because even this season we used the backup. I mean, it just happens. You know, your superstar is not ready, so you got to use a backup. But you got to have your focus on the females. So I'm saying it. Hold back smartly. So if I had to say, if I had a choice between 1.2, one male and two females, or 0.3 or 0.3, and that was what I had to have, I would go with the 0.3. Because I know that with the females, I might have one that's a slow grower like this one, or I might have one that's like Twix, the girl that's not even a year, and she's over 1,000 grams, right? This is a year and a half, and that's under a year. So and you don't know what animal you're going to get when you're breeding. You might have one that's like, hey, I want to eat every other week. Well, that's less nutrients for that animal. So what I'm saying, in your holdbacks, you hold back smartly. So if you look across here, I got 3 animals there. It's 1.2 here. Then right here, I got 1.2. But each one of the animals are eating strongly. I picked the best traits. And that's one of the choices that you have as a breeder. You get the cream of the crop because that's why you're doing it. But then the animals that you are selling, if you double up, sell it. Or if it's a gene that you're not looking for, and it could be a beautiful animal, sell that animal as well. But I'm telling you, focus on the holdbacks with your females and you'll never go wrong. Number 3, and this comes with some controversy. So with your males, you got to make sure that they're eating really strong. So what we do is we know that during breeding season, at some point, the males will go off of food. So any male that's about to go through a breeding project, because remember, you plan this out. This is a junior level course. So you only got 20 students in your college course. It's hard. You need this to graduate, right? So I don't know how to sugarcoat this. So what I do is I back my males up to whatever feeding stage they are. So if they're at the adult stage and they're eating 1 mouse a week, then I'll probably give them 2 mice, or I'll feed them in between. Anytime I have a chance to give them an additional meal to pack on just a little bit more nutrients for them so that they're good to go, I do it. So in the beginning, you have to use your male a lot more than you would like to. Like I'm saying, pairing them up with 3, but you might pair it up with 5 animals. And so if you think about that, that male is pairing up all the time. Like every week that male is pairing up. So when that male goes off of food, and that's why in another video I said, start out if you can with an animal that's 1,000 grams, because the the floor is a lot further away for that animal to reach that critical mass to where you should not breed them anymore. But at 1,000 grams, you could breed your male and he could go off of food and he's still good with making sperm cells, right? And he can go down to almost, realistically, from 1,000 to about 750 grams and still be okay. But then at the end of the breeding season, that's one thing you're going to have to focus on that male, getting him back up, because he's definitely done some detrimental effects to his body. And so this is just being honest, guys, and doing what you have to do. Make sure your animals are in great condition before you pair them up. But you will have to use that male if you're trying to succeed in that project. You can't just breed that male to one animal. You're going to have to breed at least 3 animals with this male, maybe 4, maybe 5. It just depends on how often you're breeding and when these females go through ovulation. And this is in that video right here, how to recognize ovulation. But that's one of the things you got to do. And that's really, really important, guys. So remember, the things that I talked to you about these are the tips that increase efficiency. And the last thing, and I'm going to sit her back in here real quick. The last thing that I want you guys to do is don't overstack hets, right? You want to be able to get something that you can identify with, and you just don't want to make a mass of something, right? So to make a pentahet, which is five recessive traits, may not be better than a double visual. So 2 recessive traits might actually look better than 5. It might actually look better than 4. It just depends on what you're looking at. So what I would say is go on Morph Market, do your research, look at the other animals that other people have made, and see if that's something that you would want to work. If it's not something that you could actually work in a time frame that you've allotted, then don't go for it. Go for something that you could achieve your goals with and add incomplete dominant traits to, and then that will lead you to greater success. So I discussed with you 4 key tips that will help you, as well as the strategy on breeding ball pythons and doing all of that stuff. She just wanted to get out of her cage, out of her tub, and I don't blame her. But either way, guys, I hope that this video proves successful for you in, just breeding strategically, not wasting your seasons, not wasting your time, not wasting your money. And if you're a beginning breeder, I hope that this helps you so much. If it does, please give me a like and a subscribe so that you can get more content like this. But if nothing else, guys, drop a comment below to let me know if this type of content is helpful for you. And I'm talking right to you. And I hope that this helps you, man. I really do, because let's not make mistakes at this. This should be easier than not. Like dog breeding, for people that breed dogs, it's easy. Why? Because it's out there. The information's out there. And so nobody really messes up on that anymore, right? So people can have the dogs they want for the same reason we can have the snakes that we want, right? But if nothing else, guys, I thank you so much for tuning into this video. And hey, enjoy that time that you spend with your reptiles. It's so crazy. And cherish and love the family while you have them. Thank you.